Dove and Grammy Award-winning singer David Phelps. I first met David about 20 years ago when he was performing in Aiken during the heyday of his first big hit, End of the Beginning.
Few voices in gospel music have moved people like David Phelps's, a voice that soared effortlessly and stirred souls around the world. But behind the acclaim and sold-out arenas lies a story of profound choice. Why a man beloved by millions decided to leave the very group that defined his career. What drives a celebrated artist to walk away from fame, brotherhood, and a life built on song? This is the story of faith, family, and the evolving path of a voice that once seemed destined to never fade. Roots in faith and music. David Phelps's story begins in a small Texas town where faith and music were more than mere pastimes. They were the very rhythm of daily life. Born on October 21, 1969, David was raised in Tomball, Texas, a close-knit community where church services acted as the heartbeat of his family's world. His father, Gene, a hard-working businessman, and his mother, Mariella, an English teacher, provided a home rich in both spiritual devotion and educational pursuit. But the true foundation of David's future was laid in the warm echoes of gospel hymns and family sing-alongs that filled their household. From a very young age, David demonstrated a remarkable gift, a voice that stirred deep emotions far beyond his years. It wasn't just a childhood curiosity. His family saw something extraordinary, a rare and divine talent that set him apart. He began singing in church choirs, school events, and local competitions where his performances often left audiences speechless. This raw emotional power became his signature, a voice that seemed to carry messages far beyond the notes themselves. Growing up in a small town, David had limited access to advanced musical training, but his parents were determined to nurture his gift. They sought out music lessons for him and introduced him to various musical styles, supporting his dreams with unwavering dedication. In high school, his passion deepened as he joined the choir, honed his vocal techniques, and amazed people with his incredible vocal range. Few could match the effortless way he reached high, challenging notes that many singers wouldn't dare attempt. His musical journey was closely intertwined with academic achievement, thanks to his mother's influence. David excelled in school, proving that his sharp mind matched the power of his voice. The Phelps household was a blend of discipline, faith, and encouragement that fostered both intellect and artistry. Here, music was not just art, it was worship, a way to connect with something greater. David's early experiences set the stage for something bigger. His childhood performances weren't mere rehearsals. They were the first glimpses of a voice meant to touch millions. Yet, the most difficult and defining moments of his journey were still ahead, waiting just beyond the familiar walls of Texas. The foundation was solid, a young man, armed with talent, faith, and family support, ready to step into a world far larger than the one he knew. But the path to greatness, like any true calling, would require growth and transformation beyond natural gift alone. David's roots would be the anchor as he faced new challenges and opportunities. The next chapter would take him from small-town stages to the storied halls of Baylor University, a place where both his voice and faith would be sharpened in profound ways. Even as he ventured beyond his hometown, the warmth and values of those early days would continue to guide every note he sang. Developing the gift. After high school, David Phelps's journey took him to Baylor University in Waco, Texas, a place known for nurturing both academic and artistic talents. Choosing to study music and vocal performance, David immersed himself in an environment designed to perfect his craft. He engaged deeply in classical music and opera studies, topics far removed from the gospel hymns of his youth, but crucial for expanding his vocal abilities. The disciplined training he received gave his voice a new depth, range, and control that would set him apart later in his career. Baylor was more than a school. It was a crucible where David's artistic and spiritual lives intertwined. He continued to be deeply involved in church activities, leading worship and using his growing skills to inspire others. His faith remained the compass guiding his studies and performances, giving his voice both power and purpose. This blend of rigorous technique and heartfelt devotion forged a unique artistic identity that resonated with audiences beyond the classroom. His time at Baylor allowed him to encounter a wider musical world, stretching his abilities and broadening his perspectives. Classical training demanded breath control, pitch accuracy, and emotional delivery on a level that challenged even the most talented students. David absorbed these lessons with dedication, realizing that technical mastery was vital to lending credibility and longevity to his gift. Even though his voice kept bubbling with raw talent since childhood, college was where discipline sorta met destiny, and things started to click. All those hours he spent working scales, poring over compositions, and smoothing out his tone felt like real investments, not just time. David was learning to marry technique with spirit, that kind of blend that can really grab people. It wouldn't be long before Christian music fans everywhere took notice. And it wasn't only vocal lessons. College life also gave room for personal growth, plus chances to step into leadership in worship settings. David wasn't just a student, he was also a ministry leader, encouraging congregations with music that sounded skilled yet still honest, like it came from the inside. Each song kinda held a dual role, artistic expression on one hand and spiritual connection on the other. Nothing felt accidental. The Baylor experience ended up solidifying what his family had been seeing for years. David's voice wasn't an ordinary gift, not at all. It was a calling that required excellence and humility together, no shortcuts. By the time he got ready to move beyond college, the foundation was undeniably strong and even a little stubborn in its staying power. He couldn't really know that this stretch of growth would guide him toward a pivotal turning point, joining a group that would reshape gospel music and end up defining much of his professional life. Basically, the seeds of legacy were being planted slowly but surely before anybody else could fully see it. What began as personal refinement was about to become a shared journey, one that would carry David's voice from the halls of Baylor to stages worldwide in perfect harmony with others. Joining the Gaither Vocal Band. David Phelps's entry into the Gaither Vocal Band marked a turning point that would elevate his voice and his life to global recognition. The band, legendary in gospel music, provided a platform where his powerful tenor could shine alongside some of the most respected voices in the genre. From the start, David became a cornerstone of the group, his soaring vocals contributing to the rich harmony that fans came to love. His presence infused every performance with emotion and spiritual depth that moved audiences worldwide. Life in the Gaither Vocal Band was more than professional collaboration. It was a brotherhood rooted in faith and friendship. Traveling internationally for concerts and revivals, the group shared laughter, prayers, and countless unforgettable moments off stage. For David, the band was a second family, a community united by shared purpose and passion for gospel music that went far beyond entertainment. Sold-out arenas and nights filled with music felt more like spiritual awakenings than performances. Audiences were not just observers, they became participants in worship experiences led by voices perfectly tuned to inspire and uplift. David's signature high notes often brought tears, quietly confirming his rare ability to communicate the sacred through song. The powerful chemistry within the band created a sense of belonging that few artists experience. Backstage camaraderie, whispered prayers before stepping on stage, and shared stories wove a tapestry of connection. For David, this chapter was a testament to what could happen when faith met artistry in perfect balance. But beneath the spotlight and harmony, the intense touring schedule and constant pressure weighed heavily. The demands of life on the road began to surface as a silent challenge, subtly pulling at David's heart. Though success and brotherhood were undeniable, the sacrifices were real and growing. His time with the group became a defining season. Yet the very things that made it remarkable also planted seeds of longing for something different. The Gaither Vocal Band had been home and identity, but dreams beyond the group quietly stirred. Years of singing together would culminate in a moment of profound significance when David faced the most difficult choice of his life. What seemed like a stable harmony was actually on the brink of change. That choice would not just alter David's career, but would ripple through the group and fans alike, revealing the complex intersection of faith, family, and personal calling. Life on the road. Touring with the Gaither vocal band brought David Phelps into a world of excitement, challenges, and deep connection. Each night, packed arenas became places of worship, where music felt less like entertainment and more like a heavenly encounter. The band's music reverberated with spiritual intensity, and David's soaring tenor often became the emotional peak, stirring tears and lifting hearts. But behind the scenes, life on the road demanded constant adjustment to travel, performances, and the fatigue that built up over the years. For David, the Gaither vocal band was more than just a musical group. It was a brotherhood forged through shared faith and countless miles. Offstage, the members shared laughter, prayer, and stories that bound them like family. The camaraderie backstage was vital, offering moments of rest and encouragement amid the hectic schedule. These relationships created a strong support system, but they also added layers of responsibility and expectation. The relentless pace of touring could wear on even the strongest spirits. Early mornings, late-night shows, and weeks away from home placed a strain on personal life. While the music and mission were profoundly rewarding, the sacrifices were real and sometimes invisible to the audience. David found himself longing for moments of stillness and the simple rhythms of home life he had left behind. Nevertheless, each show was kind of like a real shot to connect deeply with people across the globe. Audiences reacted in a very passionate way, changed through the power of song and spirit. For David, this felt like a sacred calling, a method to share his gift on a large scale. The joy of ministry and the thrill of performance seemed tied together like inseparable things, all feeding the same stubborn drive to keep going. Still, under all that beauty, there was this growing awareness that his life wasn't sustainable like this forever. The pressures, physical, emotional, spiritual, started stacking up over time. Small cracks showed, not loud, but there. The same platform that had lifted him also carried a quiet hint of something else, like a whisper telling him to pause and reevaluate what truly mattered. What sat heavy on David's heart was the decision about how to live fully without drifting too far from loved ones. He started to feel a kind of movement inside, a pull toward slowing down, reclaiming real space for family, and growing his creative freedom beyond the band's narrow reach. That inner tug didn't shrink his love for the group, but it did suggest a new direction waiting just ahead. As the years moved by, the balance between ministry on the road and life away from it got more fragile. The brotherhood and the success were bittersweet, because even with the highs, there was that steady awareness that change had to come. The moment of truth was nearing, a choice between holding on or stepping into the unknown, like stepping off a ledge you cannot see the bottom of yet. What seemed like unbreakable harmony was quietly shifting, setting the stage for one of the most profound decisions David would ever make: the decision to depart. When David Phelps chose to leave the Gaither vocal band, it marked the end of an era that had defined much of his life. This decision was one of the hardest he ever faced. Not a simple career move, but a deeply personal and spiritual crossroads. Walking away meant leaving behind a group that had been family, a role that had shaped his identity, and a ministry that touched millions worldwide. The sorrow was genuine, layered with gratitude and a sense of sacred transition. At the core of his choice was a calling for a different season, one that allowed more time with family and a chance to explore solo artistic ventures. David longed for the freedom to pursue music that lived in his heart, beyond the harmony and direction of a group. The relentless touring schedule and pressures of blended ministry life had taken their toll, highlighting the human need for balance and renewal. The farewell was emotional beyond measure. His final performance with the band felt like a holy moment, charged with decades of memories and shared faith. Standing on stage, singing beloved hymns with his brothers in perfect harmony, David carried the weight of every triumph, challenge, and prayer whispered backstage. The audience, unaware of the finality, sang along, making every note feel even more sacred. Exchanging a meaningful glance with Bill Gaither, the man who had first opened the door to the band, spoke volumes without words. They understood the significance. A chapter closing with love and respect, not bitterness or regret. The thunderous applause carried not just appreciation, but a heartfelt farewell from artist to audience, family to family. Behind the scenes, the mixture of laughter and tears played out. Friends like Mark Lowry tried to lighten heavy emotions, yet their eyes told different stories. Hugs from Guy Penrod and quiet encouragement from Bill Gaither sealed the moment. A tender goodbye full of spiritual depth. Returning home after years on the road was unsettling but necessary. The constant hustle gave way to stillness. David awoke not to the buzz of tour buses, but to the calm of family life and quiet reflection. While part of him mourned what was left behind, another part found peace in this new rhythm. He poured his energy into a solo career, recording music that had long lived in his heart. Though the camaraderie of the Gaither family remained cherished, this new phase brought fresh joy and creative freedom. Over time, the ache of departure softened, replaced by a deeper understanding that his journey was not ending, just evolving. What once was a beautiful season transformed into a courageous new beginning. Sometimes the greatest acts of faith come not on grand stages, but in choosing to follow where the heart and calling lead next. A new chapter begins. It marked a deeply personal transition into a new season of life. After years of constant touring, returning home introduced him to a slower, quieter rhythm. The stillness felt unfamiliar at first, yet it brought a sense of healing. It gave him space to reflect, to process what he had left behind, and to begin imagining what could come next. In that quiet, David realized his calling to music had not changed, only the way he would live it out. With renewed focus, he turned to a solo career, pouring his heart into music that had long been waiting to be expressed. These songs became more personal, shaped by his faith, experiences, and creative instincts. No longer bound by group dynamics, he embraced the freedom to create without limits. This independence allowed his artistry to evolve while staying true to the voice that had always defined him. Though he missed the brotherhood and shared moments of the Gaither family, David found fulfillment in forging his own path. The memories and lessons remained a meaningful part of his story, but they no longer defined him entirely. His voice, once blended within harmonies, now stood on its own, carrying stories of growth, faith, and vulnerability. By stepping into the unknown, he honored both where he came from and where he was going. The transition was not without challenges. Leaving a well-established platform meant facing uncertainty and risk. Yet, his faith became his anchor, reminding him that this change was not an ending, but a continuation in a different form. With gratitude for the past and hope for the future, he embraced the journey ahead with courage. His music continued to reach people, but in a more intimate way. Without the spotlight of a group, his performances took on a quieter authenticity that resonated deeply with listeners. Fans were able to connect more personally with his story, witnessing his growth through each song and performance. His solo work reflected a broader truth. When rooted in sincerity, artistry can flourish in many forms. Beyond the stage, David also rediscovered the joy of family life. Spending more time at home brought balance and fulfillment that years on the road had made difficult. This renewed connection with loved ones enriched his spirit and gave deeper meaning to his work. His life became not just about performing, but about living out his faith in everyday moments. Leaving the Gaither vocal band ultimately became a testament to trust and courage. It required stepping away from the familiar, but it opened the door to growth and lasting fulfillment. David Phelps's voice remains a gift, now carrying even greater depth, the sound of an artist who followed a deeper calling. With faith and gratitude, he continues to write new chapters, holding on to the past while embracing the promise of what lies ahead. David Phelps' journey reminds us that even the most extraordinary voices must sometimes step back to find their truest song. It's a story of faith, courage, and the evolving call to balance legacy with new beginnings. If you found this story inspiring, please like and subscribe for more journeys that touch the soul and challenge the heart. Your support keeps these stories alive and meaningful.